Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Sesh with Stevie Harkins FB. I am that person, Stevie Harkins FB. Welcome to the show. Today, I don't know how loud I am. I hope I'm not too loud. If you're watching the live Twitch stream right now, let me know in chat if I'm distortingly blasting your ears off. If not, we can get this show on the road. Like I said, I'm Stevie Harkins FB on Instagram, Stevie Harkins CK on Twitch. Today, we are having a special guest. We have Cartwheels. Everybody knows them as the two-tone inner core fingerboarded wheel company. Super excited to have them on the show, or him on the show, and get to know him a little bit more, and get to know the company a little more, and see what the dealio is on those dope wheels. Because every time I see them, like a picture of them, they're super aesthetic looking, super colorful, and I want to slap a pair on my board. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get in touch with him in a second. But of course, as usual, we got to start the show off with the shout out to everything that's going on in the community. I know recently, I know like last night, Cherry Tape went ahead and announced that person on the team that she hinted at on the show, and I think it's a piece of wood on Instagram. He's a dope fingerboarder. Check him out. And shouts out to Cherry Tape for their new addition to their team. Also, I know, what am I thinking of? Fingerboard.tv just put up like a bunch of new dope parts. I was checking them out last night because I was a little bit behind. So definitely check all that stuff out. They got a bunch of new pictures and stuff on their page. So check them out. I know the designer Rainy Days like released a new garbage can set. So if you're looking for some new additions on your park, check those things out. He's got some really dope miniatures. Rainy Days is his name. Rainy Days _ on Instagram. And let me check my notes. Scrolling. I think that's about it. In the sense of big stuff coming up. I know there's a bunch of drops, like I said, coming out, but nothing's really out yet. So everybody just stay tuned on that stuff. And then now I guess we can just give our guy from Cartwheels a call. So hopefully he picks up right away and we can get started on the interview. I believe his name is Simon. This is always super loud, so sorry about that, guys. And let's see if we can get him on the phone. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm good. The name's Simon, right?
That's right.
I can call you Simon?
Of course you can.
Okay, awesome. All right. So everybody, we have Simon from Cartwheels here today, talking to us about his company and everything he's got going on right now. Well, Simon, how are you today? You doing all right?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a long week. I'm tired, but I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Working hard, trying to get these interviews out. You know what I mean? To the people. But I was gonna say, love. Like before we even get started, I just wanted to tell you, like off view, I like to say a few things about the company before we get started. But
Okay.
off the view of your wheels alone, I just think there's some of the most aesthetically pleasing wheels on the market right now. And the way that you present them and the photos that you post on your Instagram are always super pleasing to look at, and it makes you want to grab a pair. So I just wanted to let you know, like, your wheels are really like visually, I think you're doing exactly what you need to do with your advertising and how you're like putting the wheels out there like in the community. So I just wanted to appreciate you for that. But if you don't mind, can we get into the interview and I can just start asking you some questions, letting you talk?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
All
definitely.
right, cool, man. So basically, I always like to ask, what was the inspiration or what was the thing that determined, okay, I want to make a wheel company? And when did you come up with the idea that you wanted to have the inner core?
That's a good question. I mean, I had the idea of making cartwheels in I think it was 2011, so ages ago now, a long time ago, and it was a completely different way of doing things that obviously to how I do it now is chalk and cheese. But when I first started, they were tiny wheels, the smallest wheels. Um, they were like I think they were about 5 mil width, so just like an extra millimeter around the edge of the bearing. Like
Oh, okay,
it
so it
was
was like hugging the bearing a little bit more.
yeah, oh definitely, yeah, and it was kind of like if you core the flat face dual Joros, you get those tiny
Oh, those little mini
bit
cord
of
out.
wheels.
Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about.
So they were kind of like that, and then I in that same year I was kind of experimenting with then putting other outers on them to make them like chord wheels then, but they were way too big, especially for the boards back then, which were, still most people were using like 30 mil decks back then, and they didn't look right on anything.
Yeah, it was just visually
Um,
not looking right to you as the owner and stuff like that. That makes
well,
sense though.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So years later, things got bigger, and I think the way that they are now, they although they're a completely different way of doing things to how they were back then, they sit a lot better on decks now.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think the whole aesthetic of the fingerboard looks way cleaner than it did when we first started making wooden, because it literally just looked like a popsicle stick. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, on a board that, like, it was just super primordial looking, and I think, like, aesthetically now fingerboarding is probably as replicated to a skateboard as possible. You know what I mean? But there are some tweaks to for fingerboarding specifically, but, like, I think it looks as visually like a skateboard ever, like, now than ever. So.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, there's obviously going to be differences in if you were to scale down a skateboard, it's still going to look way different to how your fingerboards look now, but that's more to do with
No, that makes
but,
sense. That makes sense.
but that's just more to do with how easy it is to fingerboard on wider decks and things
Yeah,
like that.
I think that change was the biggest thing for me personally too. Even when I was younger, I had wider hands. So I was like, when fingerboarding became wider, I was very pleased to say the least. But can I ask you, when you started making wheels, wheels are kind of like a little bit different because you have to. There's a lot more equipment involved, I feel, than other aspects, and I think like it's a little more smaller, even with the bearing and the metalwork.
Yeah.
Did you have equipment previously, or did you invest when you got into the community and wanted to make wheels?
No, it was just all about investment, and it still is. It's an ongoing thing, In the last, well, I'd say in the last year of stocks and things that I've sold, and pretty much 95% of the profit that I've made has just been reinvested back into development and that kind of thing, and moving forward. It's a real strange thing, but there was never a point in the past where I'd been involved in some other kind of crafts or hobbies that I had this leftover kit. Everything is just about investment
Oh, okay. So
with it.
you completely dove in and were like, okay, this is something I'm gonna put my time and like money into.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started, it was really naive the way, and I think that's kind of the best way a lot of the time to start anything is to go into it a little bit naively,
Yeah,
thinking,
exactly.
oh, that'll be fine, and then hopefully you've spent just too much money to think, oh shit, I've gone too far here. I'm gonna have to pull out to actually pull out. So,
Yeah. So now you're
so
invested and you gotta learn. Like, this is what I am now.
exactly, yeah.
I think
So
that's dope.
that happened.
It's a little dive in experience. Like, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, Okay, so I have to ask, what made you want to have like a core wheel, like other than like, because I know a lot of companies just do the bearing and like try and like replicate a skateboard wheel or what, but I think that this looks kind of like a, I don't know if you know the company, but the Richter wheel,
Yeah,
the skateboard,
Richter is
yeah,
what
yeah.
they were based on for
Oh,
sure. Yeah,
okay, cool.
Richter.
I thought I was just like, man, this I don't want to ask him, and he's like, no, this is a completely original like idea, and
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, cool, but no, it's
yeah.
good to
What's
have something
Richter? What
better.
are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, I
Get
don't
out.
know.
Richter was 100% the inspiration behind
Okay,
the
cool.
chord wheels. I mean, obviously, officially Mike had done the chord wheels first, and but I
Right.
mean, if you go really far back and you think about the kind of the very first wheels other than Tech Deck, you had the Euro wheels,
Yes,
which
right, right.
and they were chord wheels,
Exactly.
basically, but just a completely I mean, I never had Eurots. I had Epidemics, which were the other ones, the kind of the competing brand. I was actually on
Yeah.
Epidemic. I was on that team
Really?
uh, a long time ago. That was like 2005, I think, or something like that. But
Oh man, back in the day.
back in the day, exactly, yeah. But Chord Wheels, for some reason, I really like that whole idea, and yeah, I kind of thought I'll stick with it and pursue it this time around.
I think even when I'm like skating actively and things like that, I always thought the cord wheel visually just kind of has this like overall clean look to it, and I just think that someone that has found like a niche in making like you know what I mean, the cord wheel. I think that's something that like, was really smart on your end. You know what I mean? That was a good idea. Um, do you with your colorways, like all the colorways that you do, and like with the core and things like that, Do you ever intend to try and change those up, or are you gonna kind of stay true to the like just simple colorways with the core colored way and then like a solid color like outside wheel, or do you plan to change that up in the future?
I I could technically do it. I've I think I've always preferred the white outer cord, the white outer wheel is
The
just for
the
some
clean
reason.
look, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I could probably change it and around, but it would take a little bit of doing. I'd have to kind of think about the best possible way of doing that. And at the moment, I like the way they are, and I could definitely expand the colours of the cores themselves. There's definitely room for more colours, and I've kind of dabbled with different colours recently. But I'm kind of always trying to think about colours that are actually gonna be popular and people are gonna actually want to invest in.
yeah.
Recently I started making some like really dark copper coloured ones and some kind of really kind of beetrooty purple ones. But
Oh, okay, that's kind of earthy tones. That's cool.
yeah, but I've got a feeling that they wouldn't do very well.
I mean, I think there's a lot of like natural looks fingerboarders out there that would like those earth tones because not all of them appreciate the bright colors that a lot of the wheel companies aim for. You know what I mean? So maybe you could find a niche in that too, but I don't know. I don't want I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it's a good shout. I mean, especially when you see a lot of people are really into kind of like the classic maple
Yeah,
and
natural look. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's not a bad shout at all. Yeah.
Yeah, possibility with that, maybe, guys. I was gonna say also, I wanted to talk about your because I was reading your web page and then some of your most recent posts because I just like to see like I want to stay in the loop with the companies before I actually like start the interview or anything like
Uh-huh.
that. And I
Uh-huh.
saw that you were like your reaction to the first stock drop. Can you like explain how that was and like how the community reacted to your wheels?
Well, I think it was a strange one because this is you would say that this was the first stock drop, but actually in actuality, cartwheels were I had an Instagram page with about 2,500 followers about 2 years ago, and I was really inactive for a while. I'd been dropping stocks then, but a completely different type of wheel. They weren't cord, they were just standard wheels, and a lot of them were I was using like a kind of like a see-through plastic,
Right, right,
and they were called like gems, colored gems, and then they were kind of cool. They were good, they were all right, and they were single bearings, so they were completely different to what I'm doing now.
right.
Um, so this was kind of like like a second first stock drop, if you kind of see what
Yeah,
I
like
mean.
a re-release, like
A
a yeah,
re-release, a
yeah.
restart,
Yeah, a
yeah.
remake,
Um,
yeah.
and I was really happy because it was a lot of people had told me that since I had left, because I left and my Instagram account got deleted,
Right,
and I'm still not entirely sure why. I think it could have just been due to inactivity. I'm not 100% sure why.
right,
So I had to restart again, and I think the thing that really kind of touched me, so to speak, was the fact that it was kind of the amount of people that were interested again straight away, and it was a good sign that. And I thought I will be able to build it back up to
right.
where it is or where it was, and now it's way beyond where I had it before. So
That's
I'm
great.
really
No, that's
happy.
good. I'm glad that like you had that like rebirth of the company and it's better than it was before because then you can look back
Yeah.
and be like, well, I'm glad that happened, even though it sucked when it first happened. But no, I know that feeling. With like the whole idea of like remaking the wheels, like I said, I was looking at your page earlier and I saw that like you said earlier in the interview, the first version of the wheel and the first look of your wheel because I've noticed the core has it looks different than the first post, than the first post you made. And I think it's kind
Yeah.
of got like this more like out facing color on the inside and it looks so much cleaner. Like how did you like start to like tech and like mess with the look in the beginning to realize like, oh, this looks kind of a little bit better if I do it slightly this way. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, I mean the cores are the other than say the bearings. Obviously I don't want to go into how much everything costs, but the cores they've taken the most development, and the amount I've had to invest in within the cores is just sickening, really. So
No, that makes sense though. Invested.
So, so there's been like loads and loads invested into making the cores the way they are now, to make sure that they colour better and make sure that the main thing is to make sure they're a lot stronger, and they're a lot stronger than they ever were at the start. And it's very difficult when you're using a dual bearing wheel.
Right.
You you've always got to bear in mind that pretty much the smallest bearings you're going to get width-wise are going to be 1.2 millimeters. So you're instantly looking at 2.4 mil for the two bearings, but then there's got to be the cores,
Mm-hmm.
and the back wall of that core has to be just incredibly thin, but also at the same time incredibly strong.
Right, to
So,
support the tricks and stuff like that and
well,
everything having.
exact, yeah, just that impact, that back and forth kind
Yeah,
of impact.
exactly.
So that was the really difficult thing, was making sure that I had a strong enough material that was never gonna break or give up, but would also be as it is now, which is accurate and strong and how I want it to be.
Excellent. I'm glad that you found like a way to like, because I'm sure in the beginning, like when you first start messing with cord wheels and things like that, the internals, because once you, kind of slap that outer, layer on, I'm sure it's kind of like, well, this is no good if it's a dud. So it's like, uh, I'm sure like coring wheels and like that whole niche audience, it really appreciates the work that you're putting into coming up with these ideas so they look so clean, on their fingerboard, and then they can ride for 3 hours at a time, and it doesn't just implant on itself. But also, I wanted to talk about your website and the feel of your website, and like how I feel like fingerboarding is good when people are like, I don't know, real and like transparent about the type of people and person that they are and the type of feel they want to have for their company. And I just love the look of your website and just like scrolling through it and stuff like that. And I just want to say, like, what's the like that's like the motive behind like how you want your company to be seen, like what is it that you want like people to think when they think of your wheels, car wheels.
Well, I think the website was two things. The website was pretty tongue in cheek. There's a lot of things in there which is just totally put there for more of a personal kind of, like, it's
Yeah,
a
right,
more, I say personal, I mean personable, so people can kind of look at it and not take it too seriously,
right,
like,
right, right.
um but I was always going to be limited with the website. I mean, I definitely need to kind of invest and get a new website and start kind of building that up a little bit, because it's at the moment it's pretty basic. It's just the basic kind of one of the basic designs that you can kind of choose, but the content that goes into the website is just that, really. It's something that's kind of I don't want anyone to be thinking that they're buying something that's incredibly serious, and
Right, right,
it's got to
yeah,
have every disclaimer possible that you could ever think of it on every page. um, so I try to just take it a little bit, yeah, like I say, tongue in cheek, and make it a little bit more
no,
funny,
right.
really.
That
Yeah,
makes plenty of sense though. Like I like that. That's the angle you took on it, because at the end of the day, we're fingerboarding. So like when you take it too serious, it almost becomes a joke. You know what I mean? So I think the
yeah, for
feel
sure.
of
Yeah,
fingerboarding should feel like how you're riding, which is just fun. You're having fun doing what you're doing. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think I just really enjoyed like when I was researching your website, just looking at all the tabs. I was like, man, this is pretty humorous. Because some people try and be funny, and it's like, okay, that's not super funny, but like I get what you're trying to do. But yours was like not forced, pretty natural. So I like that. Um,
Yeah.
I know that you just recently did that contest where you were building your team. Can you
Uh-huh.
explain like how that process happened, and then now the relationship with your writers and the team and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. I had one rider already, and that was Eric Parker, who's really, really fantastically good fingerboarder. And I bizarrely, I don't think I actually came across him on Instagram. I came across him on there's an FFI group on Facebook,
Right,
and he just posted some things up, and I kind of thought, damn, he's got to be on. He's got this really clean style. He's got really nice angles. The lighting's great, and everything's really clean.
right,
Uh, and I just thought, yeah, that guy's it. So he's going to be number one, the first rider kind of thing. But I've got to kind of build this up a little bit. And I think a lot of companies will and I'm definitely not knocking it because I think it's a really good organic way of doing it, which is just to kind of slowly but surely seek out people that
Yeah.
are, that are appealing to them, which is great, which is perfect. But I thought that it would be a kind of a nice idea to kind of just bring on a couple of people via a competition, and see people that I wouldn't necessarily, thanks
Look
to
at, you know.
Instagram's algorithms, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
that wouldn't pop up onto my feed, and I wouldn't see them on my recommendeds. So I did that, and there wasn't long. I think, what did I leave, like 2 weeks to film or something like that, which wasn't really long for 30 seconds. I think I had 125 entries.
Right.
It was super super popular, and then the difficulty was just finding people that were going to kind of tick all the boxes. And ideally, I was looking for people that were a bit like Eric, that had nice angles, that were filming clean stuff, that
Yeah,
was
comparing
all.
them to somebody already on the team, you know, because you have a feel for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted a bit of continuity within any future videos that we will definitely produce. Obviously, it's good sometimes to have people that are completely different, and have a team that's really kind of mixed up. But I kind of thought, at the beginning it was going to be two riders max, and there was like, in the end, there was like 15 riders, and I was like, oh shit, I want to put them all on. I literally want to put every single one of those riders on. And then it was just kind of the hard kind of cut down to four,
Yeah.
and for sure there were like at least another five people that were absolutely incredible.
Worth it.
But
Yeah, no, that's good.
yeah, yeah. So no, I was happy with the outcome, and I think we've got a really good team now. And I'm sure the team gets on really well with each other already, which is great. And we're all kind of reading from the same hymn sheet. Is that a thing? Reading from the same hymn sheet? I
I
think
think
so.
so. I think that's the saying.
Yeah.
I think you're on. I think you're on something there. Now with like with the new team and stuff like that, and like you're saying like you hinted like with future videos and you want the continuity. So with the video, are you gonna drop like a full edit, or were you looking to drop like a series of? I know some companies do like Instagram clip series and stuff like that. What can the people expect from like the video series from Cartwheels?
Um, well, I think my personal thing is that I would love to do a full video.
Right, right,
My only issue with that is, I feel that if I did a video, and I actually don't have a YouTube, there's no kind of Cartwheels YouTube page or anything like that. I don't think it would. I could be wrong, but I don't think it would garner too much attention. I think I'd find it quite difficult to kind of hype it up and promote it. I mean, I could be wrong. I could really try and promote it to the absolute nth degree, but I'm a little bit unsure at the moment about the
right.
best way of going about doing the whole video thing.
Especially with the
Uh,
market for videos right now, not everybody's excited to watch full edits anymore.
yeah,
So I understand.
people just kind of want that instant gratification, don't they? They want that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it myself. Like, I can get bored of like a 10-second Instagram clip.
yeah.
I can like see two tricks and be like, yeah, I know what this guy's about, and then just scroll across to the next one. And it's so to maintain that interest for like 15 minutes or whatever you want to make a full video last, then it's
it's
difficult.
yeah, it's hard to think if people will want to consume that at an actual like I'm enjoying this or I'm just wanting to support. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
of
get what you're
course.
saying.
Yeah.
Um, hang on, let me see. Well, I asked you about the relationship with your writers and things like that, and how it was hard for you to pick. And like when you picked them, you had like the other writers that you had possibilities with. Do you ever have like any future of maybe doing like affiliates or any sort of like? Because I know some companies don't like sponsor people, but they do send like oh I want to see how you like these wheels, or like do you have any like testers that aren't necessarily on the team, but you kind of like gravitate
Um,
towards so they can like ride your product and be like oh okay I want your opinion on this.
well, I'm not going to name names, but there is there's one guy who I would like to do that with, and at the moment there's I'm kind of working really really hard on something at the moment, and I would love his opinion on it. And the reason being is that they're in the UK, and for me that makes a big difference because it's kind of I can get them out to them, they can have them the next day,
Right.
they can sesh them for 2 or 3 days and get back to me, and I can know within 3-4 days
If they're
what they
good, yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah. And that makes a big difference to me because I mean, obviously I fingerboard, but I'm so busy, I've got so little time for myself now that I could probably get maybe an hour a week that I can actually sit down and fingerboard. So it's so difficult for me right now.
Right.
So for having someone like that would be really useful. But I'm happy to send my stuff out, any kind of testing stuff to my team and see what
Hmm.
they think. But literally, my whole team isn't within the same country, so I'm at least waiting for a week
To hear
to
back.
yeah, exactly. At
Probably
least
just
it
for
was
this,
actually
yeah,
just
for
a
the
week
first
to get
session.
to
Just to get it on the board, you're waiting a week. Oh man, that's kind of tough. But at least you know what I mean. You're trying to be a worldwide company. You're trying to be an international fingerboard company. Sometimes you got to like step outside of that boundary and send your product worldwide so it can be recognized that way.
Yeah,
So
it's a bit
I
of a
totally get
sad fact that there's just not enough. Really, there doesn't seem to be quite enough UK um, hype at the moment. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'd say kind of probably 95% of my orders go out of the UK.
Yeah, I can understand that. I feel like it's not so much just a UK thing. I think that fingerboarding is so spread out now. Like there's no hub state or I shouldn't say state, but like country or well other than Germany and stuff like that. But I mean
Uh-huh.
like there's no like usually like when there's a hobby like you can find somewhere in your individual like town or state or whatever you live
Mm.
in township you can find somewhere that like oh this is where I can do this hobby like whether it's like tennis or skateboarding or whatever it may be like
Yeah.
fingerboarding it's like you usually have to drive somewhere like you know what I mean so far
Yeah,
to
for
just go
sure.
to an event so I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people have a hard time being able to build like kind of like community based like literal community based groups so you kind of have
Uh-huh.
to do it in
Uh-huh.
like do you fingerboard in this country? Join this
Yeah.
group. It's like, and then we can kind of try to talk to each other sometimes. So yeah, I feel like that. I can't blame you for like trying to have like having some one person that you can just send over in the same country and they can kind of like knock out a test run and they can let you know what they think. With that though, I totally lost track of what my next question was. Hang on. No, because it was I wanted to keep it along the ends of what was it? Okay, here it is. This is the big one that I want to ask towards the end of the interview. With all the new wheel companies that like wheels were like in the beginning of fingerboarding kind of like something that people were shying away from because
Mm.
boards you can kind of like if you scrap a board it's not as much as if you're spending all this time trying to make this small wheel like this finite like item for
Mhm.
fingerboarding with this tiny bearing in it and where do you get these small bearings and I remember like the very beginning of bearing wheels people were like holy moly like I gotta get my hands on these smooth wheels because they're good and they're probably one of the most expensive items that you can purchase on a fingerboard other than the board itself like just
Yeah.
because they're such a niche item.
Hmm.
How do you compare yourself with all the companies out now with like you have Joy Colt you have I'm totally Winkler wheels. You have flat face running like the plastic wheels section and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And you have like Isaki and all these guys like really
Uh-huh.
trying to come into the game. And I know D&D just came in. Like there's all these
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
coming in. How do you feel
And I
like your
think
wheels hold
Dislocation
up?
as well. He's just
Yeah.
started doing wheels as well.
Oh yeah,
They
that's
look
true. I
really
think
good.
so. Yeah, they look. I think I've seen a picture. I scrolled past it just because I was looking more for your stuff. But how do you feel like your wheels are in the ranks of all that stuff? And if you do think that your wheels are like kind of top tier, like
Mm.
what is it that separates them?
Um, well, I think they're pretty much the only. I could be wrong here. They're pretty much the only completely unique wheel on the market.
I
There's
think
no
so too.
other. Yeah, there's no other dual bearing, dual core wheel
Other than like
around.
colorways, there's no. I don't think I've seen another cord wheel like that.
Yeah, I mean the fact that the inside and the outside of the wheel can have different coloured cores, and then you've got the centralized bearings, so you can run the wheels either way round and have a completely different look, you know. So that's I think that's the big kind of selling point, and bizarrely, it's probably the thing that I get most DMs about on Instagram is that it's really difficult to kind of show how the wheels work, that you can run them either way around and you can have purple core on one side of the wheel and a blue core on the other side,
Right, right.
and it just gives the board a completely different look depending on which way you decide to run the wheels around.
Exactly, so unique too. It's the kind of like the most unique look I've seen so far. Other than some of the, like, you have your people that do, like I said earlier, colorways, but like
Mm.
the fact that you're able to come up with this concept on such a small level is incredible.
Yeah, I mean it's I think when you look at obviously I think I think Joycool is always going to be the elephant in the room. You know, Joycool is like the daddy. You know, it's the brand that kind of everyone kind of aspires to because and I think the main reason being is because other than making a great product, they've kind of they've marketed just so well. I
Yeah,
mean,
the marketing behind
so
them. It's
well.
it's like I've been saying in a lot of the most recent interviews. Some of these companies have marketed themselves to kind of be like so similar to like Supreme drops and like clothing. These clothing brands that people wait months just to pre-order. It's just like people want to get Joy clothes just because of the name on them. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's and they've done such a good job, and
Yeah,
props to Joycool because
exactly.
damn, they've done it well. But like you said, it's a growing thing. You know, you see the DD wheels, like you said, Wysockies are always, or I say always, they've been there for a while now. Producing some really nice stuff. And then you've got the classics, your Oaks and Winklers and
Right. The guys that
Y
are
wheels.
always going to be the first stop before you even go for the secondhand market of fingerboarding. Because I know everybody, even though people are trying to get these new wheel companies, like these individual companies, everybody in their box has like a pair of G, whatever the hell, flat
Of
face or
course.
Winklers. And
Yeah.
I just think that the new competition for it is incredible. And guys like you that are actually pushing people on that level, just because you're putting in the time and the effort to research the stuff that's really like needed for our community, not just boards but like everything.
Yeah. I think probably I could speak for most company owners and say that when it comes to actually working with their company, no matter what it is, probably 80% of your time is is research and trying to innovate and think of how to push their own product to the next level. And the amount of hours that I've spent doing completely menial and what turned out to be useless things is mind-boggling. You know, the amount of
Right.
hours that I've spent looking for certain bearings or something like that. You know, it's probably literally hundreds of hours looking for things that never actually materialized.
Yeah,
And
right, but it's got to take that science, like, you got to come at it at that you got to experiment with it. If not, then
yeah,
you're gonna just not expand.
no, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's kind of part of the fun of it as well. I think you actually do get quite addicted to the research
Yeah.
and like you say, the science of it. It becomes really addictive.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Can I ask you this? Because I've been talking to so many brand owners and then so many pro writers. A lot of people, I feel like it's come down to these two passions in fingerboarding. Well, I think there's three, but the two that I appreciate and the one that exists. The two that I appreciate are the writers that are obsessed with writing, like
Uh-huh.
the concept of having better tricks, better videos, better, just the writing concept, and the people that are obsessed with making the things those writers need. You know what I mean? Like the pushing the bars and the boundaries of like what it is to make fingerboard equipment. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, I've talked to company owners that are actually writers, that do the writing concept, but they just happen to do it the best. You know what I mean? Whatever
Yeah.
whatever the product that it is they make. What do you consider yourself? I know you said you don't have much time for fingerboarding now, but at one point, were you trying to be like the best fingerboarder in the world, or what's up?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think like back in those kind of days like 2005 or 6 I was like I said I was on Epidemic wheels and they were pretty much the wheels to have at the time. If you were American especially, they were like the best wheels you could get other than Tech Deck wheels.
Right, right.
There was nothing kind of too near them. But then I was also on I don't know if you ever heard or remembered Martin Ilsley. Like Martin Ilsley was kind of the man, and he owned Arctic and
Oh
other
man,
brands
Arctic.
like
I remember that. Right when you said
yeah.
that, my brain just exploded. I was like, "Holy moly!" Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I totally remember that. I totally remember that.
So I was on Arctic as well. I'd been around a little bit,
He's
and
dabbled. He's dabbled. The
he's dabbled for
process.
sure, yeah. But he's not been active, for a good 5 or 6 years now, which is a shame. Maybe more than that, maybe 7 or 8 years. But um, so a while ago, it was 100% that's I was just doing it all the time.
Right.
But the problem is, I've got a family now. I've got a wife. I've got a baby daughter who I look after all the time, and I'm looking after her all day.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of critical, so you can't really just sit there at the desk and knock out
yeah,
some nollie trays.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And when she's asleep now, that's my time to crack on with the business. And the time that I get is so little, and I still enjoy it. Next month I'm going to Berlin purely for a fingerboard holiday, which is something that I've never really done before. But I mean, I've kind of fingerboarded everywhere. I lived in Moscow for a bit and fingerboarded with the Pro FB guys. Nick
Oh,
Nick Uvarov, who
cool.
runs that, and
There's
you
some
know
good
they
guys out that way. I know. I watch a lot of
oh
their
for
stuff.
sure. When you talk earlier about communities, good communities that have got somewhere that you can actually just go and fingerboard rather than it having to be like not a contrived, but a meeting that goes on, and how can we do this? How can we get this sorted?
Yeah.
What date can we do it? In Moscow, I don't know if they still do it, but they had like a youth center with a huge fingerboard park which they
Oh
could go to
wow.
every week and
Nice.
fingerboard, and that was great, and that was really good and well attended as well, and that was really fun. But I don't know. I think fingerboarding's kind of taken me around. It's fingerboarded in Portugal with the low pro guys at their park, and that was really cool. And
Awesome.
TNP, which is Pete, who runs the Norwood project. He's
Okay.
someone that I've fingerboarded with a load of times, and I used to kind of pop around his constantly. He only lives about 10 minutes down the road from me. But the issue now is that I just don't
Ten
get that
minutes. Yeah,
time anymore.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
wish I
totally
did,
get
but
it,
I
man.
just don't.
No, but it's nice that like in your time, it kind of moved you around. Not only did you like push and compete, it moved you around and it took you places that you maybe not even would have gone on your own time. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah, for
that's kind
sure.
of like something you can take with it, even though you don't have all day to fingerboard. It's like you can still take a fingerboard holiday and get right back in the swing of things.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think the whole thing with fingerboarding is that it's kind of I think it's great. The people that fingerboard a lot and are really good at it, I got a mad respect for it. It takes some real doing to get the consistency that a lot of
Right.
people have got now is unbelievable. But I think that's kind of the whole beauty of it is that you can pick it up whenever you want to, and just do a kickflip on a desk and might make your day a little bit brighter, and then you kind of get on with the rest of it and change that shitty nappy that you don't want to change, and
Exactly.
that's that's it. That's great.
Some internal
It's,
struggles. Some internal
yes,
struggles coming out.
exactly. Safe in the knowledge that nollie heel flip is getting closer every day.
Hey, that's all you can do is look and watch it grow until you have it every time. But until that day, it's the process. You got to trust it. Um,
That's
I wanted to touch on this really quick. How do you make your pictures of your wheels look so good on Instagram? How?
it. Well, I'm really, really into photography. I've been doing photography since I was like 12, and I'm 29 now. So it's something that's been like a massive kind of passion for me for a
Okay.
very, very long time. So the taking photos of the wheels part is probably my favorite part of the whole process,
Setting up a
because it's
little
kind
a
of,
little scene for them. That's awesome.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think they look a lot more complicated than they actually are. In reality, I'm just setting them up on like a little table, and that's it. Just put them on a table and then using some kind of fancy lighting tricks to have the kind of. I mean, some of the ones I put up, and I don't really use them so much anymore. Have the lighted background with the like the. You can see the lights that have kind of got pink movements, or
Right, right.
purple or blue or whatever, and it's just kind of photography tricks.
And say you don't have like the 1,000 times scope, just like zoomed in on the wheel, on the bearing of it. Just I expected so much more complicated, like of a process, but no, that makes plenty of sense though. It's probably just like angles and like just the
Yeah,
the 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 what is the word I'm looking for? The proportions of the thing it's around. That's probably
yeah.
that's hilarious. But no, I
Well, I
just
mean,
think it looks so clean.
Yeah, I mean, I use a pretty good camera to be fair. I mean, it's pretty top end, and that probably helps a little bit. But
No, yeah, having
but
a little
yeah.
bit of some nice equipment might spice it up a little bit. Lastly, kind of to I kind of always wanted to I always like to wrap the interviews up with this kind of feel or like this question I leave people with, and then of course at the end I'll give you time to like rattle off whatever you got coming out and like any stocks or anything you got coming out. But with your cartwheels and everything behind it. Oh wait, one more
Ooh,
question before we do the final question.
okay.
What is the story behind the name? What is the story behind the name Cartwheels? I know, like, am I like, is it a play off of the whole actual cartwheel, or is it like, well, what is it?
Well, I wish I could say I came up with it, but I didn't. A guy called Si Ying. I don't know if he's I doubt he's listening right now because I don't think he even knows that I'm doing this. So he's probably not listening right now. But he just kind of suggested it. I remember I was speaking to him on Skype. I mean, the main reason being that my name is Simon Cartledge, so Cart is already there.
Ah, okay.
So but so I mean, he came up with it, and really it was. I just thought, you know what? It's too good not to go with it. It works
Exactly.
too well. It works
It's
too
just
well.
too good.
It works too well. So I stuck with it, and yeah. So that's why it was. That's why it was cartwheels.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I was gonna say because that's such a smart name. I think that's pretty hilarious that you came up with that, and the cleverness behind it is pretty incredible. Um, okay, now let me transition over to the last question. I'm sorry that question. I always have that happen. Like as I'm like wrapping up, I'm like, shit, I should have asked that question as I was finishing up. But now I just do it. Now I just interrupt myself and I just look at your most recent writers and stuff. You are looking to get involved in more in the community, and you've built a page twice for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like you're out there. What is your like preferred lasting impression on the community and like the fingerboarding world at the end of cartwheels, or I should say when you're done doing fingerboarding? You know what I mean? Like at the end of your career.
Well, I think I say if it comes to that, I think I'm kind of a realist, and so when it comes to that, which inevitably, I think there's a good chance that 99% of the people that are currently fingerboarding are probably gonna stop at some point. It's just one of those things. It's as you get older and you kind of get to a certain point, you're probably gonna look to different ventures. But
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say that in the time that I am around, which I hope is a really long time, that people will see see cartwheels as if I can get my words out, as an innovator,
Right.
and a company that's trying to do things a little bit differently. It might not be the completely conventional way of doing things, and that's fair enough. But yeah, I hope people would see Cartwheels as a company that's hopefully going to keep growing, keep keep showing what we can do, and yeah, I just want people to see that it's a company that's going to do things a little bit differently, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd say I don't want to be a company that's going to be just a bog standard wheel company that you know what's coming next kind of thing.
Right.
I want to
Exactly.
be a surprise.
And I think, to be honest, though, like in all honesty, I think with what it is that you're doing and the product that you have, and the way that the way that you came at the product, the way that you innovated it with the whole core, and being the only company out here really pushing that concept and that look and the aesthetic. I think in time, once people do see the company, and I mean, like once it gets a good look and like spectrum look at the like from the whole community, I think that's exactly what's gonna happen with your company, just because it's so like we don't have it, and without it, like we don't have it, and that's just hobbying in general. If you have a quality product that has a certain look, people are gonna like it, and there's gonna be people that only want to ride that. And I think with the creation of your team, and I checked all their pages out and like the talent they're producing and stuff like that, I think in a good amount of time, I think that'll be exactly what you'll be dealing with, and
Yeah.
you'll be leaving fingerboarding before fingerboarding leaves you. So, so I just wanted to say, this is your opportunity to say if you have anything coming out, any sort of like info, like announcements or news or any sort of shout outs that you have, you can totally do that right now.
Okay. Well, I suppose I've got to give a shout out to Eddie because I mean he specifically asked for a shout out, so I can't not do that.
Right.
It's so good man,
Shout
top
out
man.
Eddie.
Shout out to Eddie, the boy. I mean Eddie, and I don't want to go into fucking huge stories about people here.
No, feel
Um,
free to. This is all your time.
but I mean, genuinely, he was kind of the man when it came to UK fingerboarding. There wasn't anyone that was kind of touching him in terms of quality of fingerboarders. So big shout out to Eddie, and it's good to see that he's kind of. It looks to be like he's getting back into it, which is great.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so big shout out to him. But I think in general, so I've got a blocked up nose. It's not good being in England in February.
No, there's a terrible flu going around, I feel. So be careful out there.
um, but no, I think I just want to say thanks to everyone, really. I mean, it's the stocks have been unbelievably popular, and just generally, it's something that I kind of feel the love for, and I want to keep on pushing. Obviously, I want to make some new products soon. Hopefully, I can. Hopefully, no kind of promises, but hopefully, I'll be able to come out of a single bearing wheel soon. It's not an absolute at the moment, but it's something that I'm working hard to do.
Oh, okay. So you heard it here first, people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Possibilities of the future.
yeah. I mean, it's something that I'm working towards. It's a difficult one, but I'm uh, I'm really hopeful that it's going to be good and popular. At the moment, the kind of the only downside that I would say of the wheels in the way that they are right now is that they're made more for Y trucks being because Y trucks are taking the dual bearing wheels, and also the tech deck longboard trucks
Right. The old
are
school
really
ones.
yeah, and they've just released the new ones, haven't they? The 32 mil trucks that they put on the new Series 7 tech decks,
Right.
and they're pretty good. And actually, they at the moment I'm kind of running a thing where people get those for free when they buy a set of wheels.
Alright, cool. So you can slap them right on the board. But I know
Yeah,
the BRT users are praying for that single bearing.
and that's the problem. It's BRTs did that so well. If it wouldn't it be great if they'd have offered two different size axles?
I know, right? That would
Ah,
be. If they just did that one change, there could be so many more companies and so many more. But but I understand they have something that's working, and it's kind of fit to
sure.
the companies they support. So that's kind of like that whole Apple feel to it. You gotta,
Oh God, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you gotta. That's why you got Y trucks doing their thing with the tool and stuff, and like people gotta, they gotta tend to the guys they keep in their circle. And I understand you gotta make money and stuff like that, but there's also a huge community that we're already like squandering, like trying to have. So I don't know why we just can't, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
solidify. But I
yeah,
get it.
definitely. I mean, I understand it. Of course, it makes perfect sense. Like you say, it's the Apple, the compatibility thing
Yeah.
it makes sense completely. Um, so fair play to them, and I will change. I will come out with this single bearing wheel, and things will move on. But but
Give
but
them
no,
time, though, people. Give them time.
exactly, yeah.
You're right.
It's difficult.
No, I get you.
Um,
You gotta,
but
you gotta,
yeah.
you gotta give it time. But
That's
but
it. That's
say
it. But yeah, like I say, big shout out to everyone that's followed me so far. Big shout out to the people on the team, the guys, because they're gonna be a huge help, and I know that for sure. That already they've given me a lot of support and advice, and these things I take really seriously. And a big shout out to Danny as well. Danny, once again, might not be listening to this because I've not told him I'm doing it. And but he's one guy that I've known in fingerboarding for years on years on years and years, and has kind of always stuck by me and helped me with any decisions that need helping with. But
awesome.
that's it. They're the guys. They're the guys.
Those are the dudes. Those are the dudes that are
Those are the
supporting,
dudes.
pushing, lead the way. And
They're the
that's
players.
and that's the information, guys. That's the interview with Cartwheels, dude. Thank you so much, Simon, for coming on, dude, and give me some of your time a day. I really appreciate that. When companies give me a chance to do this because I'm not, like everybody has kind of a slightly bigger platform than I do because of the fact that you guys are producing a product. But I feel like there's so much more to companies because they only see the Instagram page and not the people behind that's making their product. And
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of alienates what it is that makes a fingerboard community the community that it is. So I was just like, I really appreciate that like people like you want to come on the show and like continue to make these products that are like worth the money that we spend instead of like doing it for themselves. You know what I mean? And I really I just really hope that like you get everything out of the company that you're like looking for, and like people continue to support Cartwheels.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me come on the show. I think what you're doing is really cool. There's not it's been done before the podcast thing, but I think that it's so great that you're kind of restarting it because I
Yeah.
can't remember the last podcast really.
I
It
feel
was
like it's
quite a
hard to
while
be
ago.
consistent. It's hard to be consistent with this because it is hard to match up time with people. But
Yeah.
I just think if it's something that like if people can find time in their day to make the products, you know what I mean, spend 8 hours like staring at a whatever it is that they're making, whether it's a wheel, a deck, or a truck. I can edit, I can throw together an interview and post it on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
hard. But like I said, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you, and I'm hoping that I can. I'm trying to build ways that I can have people return and give more input on the community and things like that. So hopefully I can get in contact with you and get you back on the show soon. But
Yeah, of
like I said,
course.
I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can talk soon. And thank you.
Top man. Thank you. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.
All right, everybody. That was the interview with Cartwheels. We got Simon from Cartwheels coming with the inner core, the Duros, bro. You gotta get them. Gotta get your hands on them. I know a stock is coming soon. Shout out to his team and everybody who's made it. Um, and shout out to you guys that are listening in. I don't want to like call you, oh, Jay Boondock, what's good, man? I'm gonna open up really quick because now that this is getting some support, the session is receiving some actual response from the community. I would just like to shout out some people that have followed the channel recently and basically have been giving us the support we need to continue doing these. We got the Quebecer dude. I think that's actually Fingered Ben, but I'm not sure. We had Ruben44FX, Gino New, Swaggy Dog Games, and Live with Murmur 12. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Jay Boondock, thank you for swinging by, my guy, hitting up the chat. But everybody, thank you so much for supporting the session, allowing me to continue to interview these companies and pushing basically the boundaries of fingerboarding. I know we're kind of on a weird platform as Twitch, and I know a lot of you guys are watching live but don't have accounts on Twitch, so you can't comment or anything. But if you would like to make an account and follow this channel, it is easier to find out when I am streaming, and you can comment live so I can ask your questions directly to these company owners that you may not be able to ask on a daily basis. It's kind of like a little personal feel, and that's why I wanted to do the live sessions. So on Twitch. So make sure if you are watching and you don't have an account, hit that, or you do have an account, hit that follow button. If you don't have an account, try and create one and hit that follow button so you can get in the chat and get a little more involved and ask the questions you want to know the answers to live on the recording of the stream. But like I said, thank you everybody that supports this stream and this cast. Because without you guys, like I couldn't do this. I really want to thank Simon for coming on and reaching out and being like, yo, we got to continue this. Let me get on the show so I can talk to you about some stuff. And I was like, awesome. Like, I love it when companies come to me and let me know they want to be on the show because that gives me an opportunity to talk to you guys. And then I'm not like the 1,000th DM in your your message box because I feel like there's so many people that have to talk to you. So if you are a company that is looking to either advertise, get on the show, or just show a video or do a stock drop or announce something, please feel free to reach out to me at Stevie Harkins FB on Instagram, or even message me here on Twitch and or YouTube if you're watching it now. I will respond and I'll let you know. We can set up some time and figure out what it is you need from the show, and I can get you advertised and get you on the show so I can give back to the community as well. Like I said, stay tuned. We do have more companies coming in soon. We had Idol FB coming in, sliding in, following. Thank you so much, Idol FB. Hopefully, we can get him on the show, get those guys on the show. But stay tuned. We got more stuff coming on. I don't know when I will be releasing the next episode of the session because of the fact that I have to get some more interviews solidified. A lot of people have different like schedules and the time zones and things like that. And I also want to get a few pro writers as well, not just companies, you know what I mean? So just stay tuned with that, and everything like that. If, like I said, just make sure you guys let other companies know that I'm out here and I exist and I'm looking to get some information with them, so people don't think that they're just Instagram pages. That there's people behind these companies that are supporting our community and pretty much pushing fingerboarding farther. So if you haven't yet, like I said, hit that follow button. Subscribe if you're watching on the recording of YouTube. If you want to actually like promote the show a little more, you can subscribe on Twitch. You do have that option. I am an affiliate, so if you'd like to support the show and basically get more, I don't know, give more money so we can get more stuff for the show and like basically add more segments or whatever it is we want to put the money towards, whether it is like reviewing products or whatever. Just feel free. You can subscribe. I think it's like $4.99 a month, or you can use your Amazon Prime Twitch subscription and it's free. So that works too. But like I said, support the community that supports you. I'm Stevie Harkins FB on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I appreciate all of you. Feel free to come back next time and hear what we got to say. I don't know who it is that we're interviewing next, but come back next time. We're probably gonna have somebody dope as usual. And like I said, thanks to Cartwheels FB for coming by. Follow him on Instagram at Cartwheels FB, and I will check you guys later. So peace. Beat on the